Okay, we might kick off. Welcome everybody to Reciprocal Partnerships for Social Change. This is one of the many virtual sessions that we have as part of our UWC SEA forum, Learning to Shape the Future. I really do hope that you've been able to enjoy a lot of what the forum has had to offer today and of course tomorrow, including our fantastic keynote addresses today. There are many more virtual sessions and lots of virtual booths to explore, as well as networking online and in person. So please make sure you have a look at the app and look at the other sessions that are available. This session is being recorded and all session recordings will be made available on the agenda in the forum app. Speaking of the app, friendly reminder to please refresh it, whether you're on your mobile device or on your computer, as there can sometimes be a little lag in the updates and we don't want you to miss any of the announcements, connections or messages that we send you throughout the forum. If you are having any difficulty, please email us forum@uwcsea.edu.sg, or you can pop a question in the Q&A feature in your main menu on this Zoom session. The session is being hosted on Zoom and you are welcome to keep your cameras on, but we please ask that you put your microphone on mute throughout the presentation. And if we have time for questions at the end, then we will invite you to unmute then. Otherwise, you'll be invited to join our presenters in a virtual networking session immediately following their presentation, and details will be provided at the end of the presentation. So, without further ado, we have Rick Hanna, the Chair of Service and Sustainable Development on UWC SEA East, and Nisha Farah, Service and Sustainable Development Specialist, UWC SEA East. And I will turn over to Rick and Nisha now to begin the presentation. Thank you both.
Thank you, Lucy, for that kind introduction. As Lucy mentioned, my name is Rick Hanna. I'm the Chair of Service and Sustainable Development at East Campus. I've been here for the last 9 years, and what I really love about working here is the opportunity to get to know our local Singaporean community better.
Hi, I'm Nisha Farah. I'm the local service specialist, and I've been working in UWC SEA for the past 10 years. I'm very passionate about building student agency and relationships with the wider community.
So as you can see from this photo, Nisha and I have a lot in common, much more than just service. We are also very passionate about sausage sizzling.
Yeah, we are expert sausage sizzlers. Jokes aside, we're here today. Our aims are, we want to share the evolution of our local service program and the partnership with voluntary welfare organizations. We want to explore the process and tools that build reciprocity. We want to consider the application of these tools in your own context. So what does service learning mean to you? Please share with us your responses in the chat below. Maybe Rick and I will also share what service learning means to us.
Or authentic opportunities to engage with action.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Identifying needs and understanding how to meet them. A chance for our NGO to engage with young people and help them to have impact on our environment.
Authentic.
And nice to see sort of a mention of agency in there.
Mm-hmm. Authentic two-way exchange, a chance for communities to become deeper and more collaborative.
A lot of these resonate with us as well.
Mm-hmm. Building relationships, yes, that's definitely the key. Learning as a community, yes.
Thanks. So now we'll turn our attention to the definition that we use. Thank you for your contributions.
So in East Campus, we've adopted Kathy Berger Kay's definition of what service learning is. Service is a collaborative and reciprocal engagement with the community in response to an authentic need. In the next few slides, we're going to share what our context is. We're going to look at voluntary welfare organization. In this presentation, we're going to refer to them as VWOs, because in Singapore, we have an acronym for everything. We're also going to share what reciprocity means to us. We'd like to emphasize that today's presentation is going to focus on the high school local service program and its partnerships. So what are VWOs? They are a non-profit organization that provides welfare services that benefit the community. They are usually set up as societies, but also registered as charities. As part of our program, students then collaborate with our VWO partners to address the following issues. We address issues with persons with PWD, persons with disability. We address issues with the aging population. We address issues with persons with mental health issues and the stigmatization around it. We also address issues, reasons why non-profit child care centers exist, and with our migrant workers. So why do VWOs exist? Though Singapore is one of the most expensive cities in the world, we as a community are still tackling issues surrounding income inequality and structural unemployment. The hidden poverty in Singapore is a topic that has been avoided. However, in the past couple of years, the younger generation are more aware and they are taking steps to advocate and to take actions. Unfortunately, relative poverty continues to affect the social groups in the slides that we have seen above. So what does reciprocity mean to us? Both our VWO partners and students are key collaborators. We want to deepen the understanding of our students, and we want our students to know that working with our partners helps them improve the quality of life of our beneficiaries. According to the research from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public School, the basic standard of living in Singapore is more than just housing, food, and clothing. It's about providing equal opportunities for education, employment, work-life balance, healthcare, and this provides a sense of belonging. It also gives them the freedom and choice to participate in religious and social activities. Now that we have given you an idea of why we work with VWOs, Rick is now going to share more about the evolution of our program.
Thanks, Nisha, for that introduction. So, over the past 10 years, our local service program has changed significantly from being mostly teacher-directed to more student-centered. We used Roger Hart's ladder of participation to guide us. Roger Hart's ladder of children's participation describes 8 ascending levels of decision-making, agency, control, and power that can be given to children and youth by adults. When reflecting on our program, we saw ourselves on rung 4, where students are assigned but informed. Where we wanted to be was on rung 8, where students initiate and share decisions with adults. To make this transition, we adopted Kathy Berger-Kay's 5 stages of service learning, which increased student agency, giving them the responsibility for building relationships and reciprocity with VWO partners through investigation, preparation, action, reflection, and demonstration. The 5 stages help students understand that service learning is not linear and that you have to continuously reflect, adapt, and change your approach to meet the partner's needs. Kate Levy, a teacher facilitator, spoke about this dynamic process when she said, "It has been quite remarkable to hear students independently critiquing and adjusting what they do in the sessions, as they observe the reactions of our buddies and constantly assess whether they are engaged, happy, and learning with us. A steep, deep, and powerful learning curve for our students." Before we introduce the stages, you will notice that curriculum is at the center. Many of our VWOs we work with are included as case studies in the curriculum, and grade 10 students studying critical perspectives have the opportunity to collaborate with them as part of their critical challenge project. Curricular ties help students make more informed decisions about which services they want to be a part of. In this presentation, we will introduce each of the 5 stages and the tools that have contributed to richer learning experiences for our students and more impactful programs with our VWO partners. However, before we do that, we'd like some engagement from you, and we have the Hearts Ladder here again, and we'd like to know from you, what rung of the ladder do you see yourself or your students on currently? And if you're not an educator, maybe you want to think of this, think of this in the context of being a parent or in the institutions you're a part of. Please put the rung in the chat box now. Thanks. Thanks, Lucina. Thanks, Adrian. Mostly rung 6. Rung 4.
Thank you.
Simon, thank you. I know we've talked about your program a lot before. Is that 4 to 8, depending on the location? Yeah, context can often, sort of mean that you're on different levels as well, different rungs. Rung 2, okay. Hopefully, today's presentation might give you some ideas for how to sort of move more towards increasing student agency and aiming to promote rung 8. Yeah, Alice, yeah, that's just like us, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to get there. We're not there completely yet, but we're trying to get there. Oh, and Ian, so many familiar names now. Great. Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on, and I'm gonna start talking a little bit about the investigation stage itself. So, reciprocal partnerships require investigation into the VWO organizations we work with and why they are needed in Singapore. We use Kathy Berger Kay's tool and acronym Miso to guide students through different methods for gathering information about the VWO and the causes they are addressing. Miso stands for Media, Interview, Survey, and Observation. For our local service partnerships, most of the information is gathered through reading, watching, and listening to media connected to the issue and the organizations they are partnering with. They then use this research to inform the interview questions that they ask their VW partner. This interview with the partner forms the basis of a needs analysis that helps students better prepare activities that are meaningful to the beneficiaries. It also helps them better understand the communities they are serving and why these activities are needed. Students use their research findings together with the systems thinking iceberg to deepen their understanding of how system structure generates patterns, trends, and outcomes. This helps them understand why the VWO is needed and why their contribution matters. We are now going to hear from a grade 12 student, Reza, graduated yesterday, talking about how she used the iceberg.
In order to understand the income disparity in Singapore and why subsidized childcare is needed, we watched a video from CNA Asia and read articles relating to how the issue manifests itself. We also interviewed Ms. Binaya, the senior teacher at PCF 858, to learn more about the center and the curriculum and how we can positively contribute to the students' learning. Another tool that we could use to further examine the need for nonprofit childcare centers is the Iceberg model. This investigates the visible and invisible aspects of an issue in 4 distinct categories. The first category is events. This refers to things that are visible around us, events that we can notice and report on. For example, we know that there are around 317 non-profit childcare centers in Singapore. This is a visible aspect of the iceberg model, something that we can distinctly identify. Moving on to the invisible aspects, the first one is patterns of behavior. This refers to repeated actions, habits, and decisions over time. What are some trends and changes that have occurred that we can report on? Firstly, we could look at the government as one of the stakeholders in this issue. For instance, the finance minister has recently announced plans to further subsidize childcare education in Singapore. This shows us the trend of the government recognizing the needs of lower income families and especially the need for more subsidized childcare and stepping in to provide more support by building more childcare centers and providing additional subsidies to families. Another trend is access to enrichment classes. While high-income earners can often enroll their children for multiple enrichment classes, parents from low-income households do not have the disposable income to do so. Additionally, childcare centers associated with VWOs are also unable to afford enrichment classes. Lastly, the number of enrollments in childcare centers have also risen from 86,000 in 2013 to 137,000 in 2020. While this refers to childcare centers across Singapore, it also showcases a greater demand for these centers and a greater demand from lower income households as well. A second element of the iceberg model is systems and structures. This refers to structures that influence how these patterns and trends exist and how they result in manifestations of it. In Singapore, we notice two main systems and structures. The first being a reliance on single income, which is usually quite low. This often leads to an inability to hire support, either for their children or for elderly parents, and can result in there not being enough support for children and there thus being a need for subsidized childcare centers to exist. VWOs also provide counseling and support for not just children, but also the families in general. So while children who attend childcare centers associated with VWOs do get that opportunity for education, their families also get additional support. The second is hidden poverty, which continues to affect Singapore. It takes away the freedom to have a basic standard of living and affect the opportunities for education and employment in the future. Singapore does not have a minimum wage nor a poverty line, and so the ability to realize the existence of poverty in itself becomes very difficult. And this can further perpetuate the poverty cycle if adequate support is not given to these families, especially at a young age, and provided through these childcare centers. The last is mental models. This refers to assumptions, values, worldviews that uphold the systems and structures. The first that we notice here in Singapore is the value of success. Many families are often too proud to ask for help, and they don't believe that asking for help is an acceptable thing to do. This can result in money being allocated for various purposes that is not the most beneficial for those families, and also can affect the children in those families from not getting the education that they deserve. Additionally, there is the Asian culture of filial piety, which refers to respect for one's elders, parents, and any adults in the family. Most adults in Singapore are often also supporting their elderly parents who very often might suffer from medical conditions, and this affects the available money which they can allocate towards their children and further perpetuates the poverty cycle. So using this iceberg model, we are able to understand many different aspects of why childcare centers are needed and how the culture in Singapore and society in Singapore influences the existence of these childcare centers.
So yeah, Reza, as you can see, sort of introducing this tool has given her a much deeper understanding of the issue, actually a much deeper understanding of the issue than I had. And I was fortunate enough to have Nisha listen to what she recorded and sort of qualify what she was saying. But yeah, the systems thinking iceberg tool is a tool that we have only recently introduced. Razor, I think this is important to note, Razor was part of a group called East Reform, similar to Do Better Dover, that questioned whether or not we do enough to educate students about social justice issues in Singapore. And we feel like using systems thinking tools is one way we could look at addressing this. It is important that students understand why their contribution matters, but it is equally important that they don't adopt the savior mindset, but instead one of reciprocity. And with that,
in order to understand the income disparity in Singapore and why
and with that, we move on to another sort of engagement with you. So one of our aims for this workshop is helping you think about how you would apply these tools in your own context. So thinking about Kathy Berger's 5 stages, the System Thinking Iceberg, and Miso, share your thoughts about these tools in the chat. Feel free to use these sentence starters to help you. Okay, we'll give you about sort of 4 or 5 minutes, or 5 minutes for that. Off you go. Thanks, Frankie. I think you've just shared the tool itself. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oh, great. Thanks, Frankie. We'll certainly take a look at that later.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Tom. Absolutely.
Keep the posts coming. And if you do have any idea, any tools or any examples, like Frankie just shared, we would love for you to put them in the chat. We're constantly trying to learn and improve ourselves. So any examples like that, please keep them coming. Okay, yeah, Simon. Yeah, we've experienced some of those similar challenges. Yep, Frankie, totally agree, and I think that's where the interview with the childcare centres come in, and it's that Miso, making sure that the students, when we did do direct service, we would have them go and actually observe sort of the environment around the centres and things like that, and obviously speaking to and interviewing the centres themselves is really important for that. Yeah, we need knowledge in order to make the engagements meaningful. Yeah. And we've been trying to apply these tools are very transferable. Just to say, we use We use the Iceberg ourselves in our department. Anytime we sort of see an event that needs unpacking, we go through the Iceberg process and then systems mapping when it comes to looking at the structures in order to try and find the right leverage point. So, yeah. Okay, we do need to move on. So Nisha now is going to talk to you, give you some tools for preparation. Over to you, Nisha.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you everyone for your comments. Please keep them coming and we'll continue to read and try as much as possible to answer your questions. The next stage in this process is preparation. In this stage, we want our students to be ready to engage with our beneficiaries. We want them to have a concrete plan. So one of the tools that we use in this stage for reciprocity is goal setting. The goal setting document has 3 components. There are goals, actions, and success indicators. Our students set goals based on the needs of our community partners. This helps them inform the actions that they're going to take. There are 4 different kinds of action, and Rick will later explain them on his slides. Students then plan and develop the skills that they need to carry out the necessary project. Our students then continue to draft what success indicators might look like. So what does the goal setting document does for our students? For our students, it gives them direction and guidance to prioritize and plan their course of action. For our partners, it creates a layer of transparency. It gives them an opportunity for both students and our partners to clear any doubts or concerns that they might have. Once our students have received approval from our partners, they need to receive training before they begin partner engagement. And there are 2 kinds of partner engagement. In-house training from our school experts, and the other one, training from our VWO partners. For in-house experts, we identify educators on our campus who have specialized skills to support our service learning program. For instance, in the past couple of years, when our students had to run virtual fitness sessions with elderly, our students were trained by Sulaiman, our school's gym instructor. Our in-house experts continue to provide guidance and support throughout the whole academic year. Now that our students are trained with a particular skill set, they need to understand how to work with the beneficiaries. This is where we will get our VWO partners to train our students. They're trained with the necessary skills and knowledge to provide supportive care to their beneficiaries. For example, when we are working with a VWO called Running Hour, who supports visually impaired clients, our trainers will then explain to our students what the safety protocols are and steps to guide their members. In this picture, you can see that our students are putting into practice the steps that they have learned. As Rick has mentioned to you in the previous slides, our program is now running towards round 8 on the Hearts Ladder, where students initiate and share decisions with adults. Besides having adult experts, we also empower our students to lead and train their fellow peers. And we have observed and recognized that students are more empowered and receptive to the ideas of their classmates. Rick will now share with us the next stage.
Thank you, Nisha. So, as mentioned earlier, when we started the local service program, it primarily focused on students taking action that they were assigned by adults. These actions were often limited to direct service with the partner. However, with a deeper understanding of the issues and closer relationships with the VWOs, students started to see opportunities to take indirect action and advocate for social justice. So let me share with you the 4 kinds of actions as defined by Kathy Berger-Kay. So we have research, where you gather and report on information that helps the community. We have direct service that involves face-to-face interaction with people, animals, or the environment. We have indirect service, action that is not seen by the people who might benefit from what you do. However, the action meets a real need. And advocacy, what you do makes others aware of an issue and encourages them to take action to make change. So, to get a taste for what this looks like, we are going to play a quick game. So we are going to show you some images of our students in action. And we want you to tell us in the chat if they are research, direct, indirect, or advocacy. And the way we're going to play this game is we're going to use a thing called Chatterful. Some of you might have come across it before, but basically I'm going to ask you to put in your answers to the chat. Oh, sorry, I'm going to ask you to think of put your answers into the chat, and then I'm going to count down from 3, 3, 2, 1, and ask you to send them so that we can see them all at the same time. I hope that makes sense. This is my first time using Chatterful. Let's see how it goes. All right, so the first image we have is a campaign to raise awareness about persons with intellectual disabilities. So is this research, direct service, indirect service, or advocacy? So put your answer into the chat, but do not send it just yet, because I'm going to count down soon.
Right.
Okay, you reckon?
Let's go.
Let's give it a go. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. This worked. So yeah, I can see most answers are advocacy and research. I think both could be right. You do need research in order to produce these posters, and actually what we find is research is linked to all the other 3 areas of action. Absolutely. But the answer for this that we were looking for was advocacy. All right, well done, that worked. I'm surprised, but here we go again. All right, so the next image is a donation drive for Peacehaven Baddock Day Center. Is it research, direct service, indirect service, or advocacy? Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Nice. Okay, so we've got indirect and direct service. In this case, it is considered indirect service because a lot of the collections are happening without meeting with the partners directly. So things like fundraising campaigns, things like donation drives, we categorize under indirect service. Well done. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Next slide. Okay, so, sorry, that skipped one. It's falling, I think. Yeah. It's back. Okay. All right, the next one is interviewing migrant workers. Is this research, direct service, indirect service, or advocacy? All right, 3, 2, 1, Chatterful. Yeah, awesome. We got research all the way through. A few direct sort of actions mentioned there, and I can see again, it's you can see that they're working directly with the organization, like they're talking directly to people when they interview them, but we would categorize that as under research. Okay, and the last one is building trust with children from SGM Learning. Is it research, direct service, indirect service, or advocacy? 3, 2, 1, Chatterful. All right, direct service, beautiful, 100%, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, thank you for playing Chatterful. I hope it was as fun for you as it was for us. Okay, all right. So there was also action during the pandemic. And this was when students had to collaborate even more closely with our service partners to problem solve ways to continue to deliver activities online and in a purposeful way. And here are some of the ways they did this. So we've got virtual storytelling with Childcare Center. So surprise, surprise, there's Reza again. I just realized that she's been in pretty much every photo. We've also got virtual badminton training with Special Olympics. We've got virtual fitness with the elderly. We've got virtual juggling tutorials with the boys hand, Muhammadiyah boys hand. And we've got virtual games with Sundak. So this transition from in-person direct action to virtual direct action was a challenge, but still made a meaningful impact. This is highlighted in some feedback from one of our service partners. So in this time of safe distancing, residents have really appreciated and looked forward to online sessions run by the UWC SEA students. When we are able to have sessions in person again, we would like to have both physical and virtual sessions so that we can include more residents and continue to put to use everything we have learned about technology. Over to you, Nisha, for a bit of reflection.
Thank you, Rick. I think reflection is such a unique process because it can occur anytime during the service learning process. This gives our students time to reflect. It gives them time to describe what has happened. It gives them time to express their feeling, generate ideas, raise questions if there's any, but most importantly, to revise their plan if there needs to be one. One of the tools that builds reciprocity in this stage is SWOT. And SWOT refers to strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. There are two types of SWOTs that the students will complete, a formal one and an informal one. We complete the formal SWOT with our partners every 6 months, or in our context, is about 2 seasons. This helps to measure the impact of both our student learning and the impact that it had on our beneficiaries. This process helps both our students and our partners to evaluate how the past 6 or 8 weeks have been, and it also allows time for constructive feedback where students can find time to improve their delivery and content. This process gives both stakeholders to explore new initiatives. Most of our student groups complete an informal SWOT after each session. This debrief process helps to prioritize the goals and find strategies to minimize their weaknesses. So let's watch this group of students who have just finished their session with preschoolers reflecting.
Very effective in getting the children's attention, whether it be through the head, shoulders, and toes, or the clapping. They also said that we had loud voices whenever giving instructions, so that helped for the kids to understand. And that they also said we were very helpful in general, whether it be for helping the kids have the seatbelts or going to the toilets. They also said they were quite happy with the children to student ratio. They thought that was good and that we could kind of keep control. And that they're also very happy that the children were always supervised. And that the students also in general were very respectful, friendly, and gentle. Going on to kind of weaknesses and improvements. He said if we're ever drawing on the whiteboard, we should try to switch on the lights or make it a bit lighter so that all the kids can see. And that if we're getting the children to do drawings, like for example with recycling, we need to provide them with like pictures and examples. So maybe if we have to print off like a picture of tin and then write underneath that tin, so they can see that, oh, that's what we should draw, rather than kind of letting them go free rein. And also for starters, she said that it doesn't just have to be the big functions, so that like Zumba would be a good idea.
Yeah, and she said that they would take like Zumba for kids and like Just Dance kids. They would have looked at Just Dance kids, but the thing is, she just said, yeah, be aware of the dance moves that they thought, because not all of them are the most appropriate for them. So she said that she could send some of the links that they have, because they do like Zumba once in a while. And so we asked if she could just send some of those over, and we can do some of those at the beginning and we'll switch it up.
So in this video, you can see that our students have demonstrated how reflection can help them. You can see many times that they keep referring to, we have asked her or she says this, and the she they're referring to is actually the teacher of the childcare center. And it's good to hear that the students are considering their feedback and suggestion on how to improve the program, using the experts' knowledge to further hone on their skills that they have. This process demonstrates to our partners that our students really have genuine interest to support the children. And it also shows that our students are committed to care and they're also building on self-awareness and resilience.
Very effective in getting the children's attention.
How have we adapted through the COVID-19 period? We have recognized how important the feedbacks were for our students. We designed this virtual feedback form where our students would then attach the links or for the pre-recorded session or links to the live sessions. And this process helps our students reflect on the weekly sessions that they would run. After completing the SWOT with our partners, we encourage our students to self-reflect. We provide students with the following guiding questions. Through this local service, what do you learn about yourself? What have you learned about the community your group has been partnering with? How do you make your decisions, and how did you overcome these challenges? These questions help students identify the measures they took to be successful. The self-discovery aspect, where their own principles and values were reinforced and re-evaluated. Rick's going to share the next process of the 5 stages.
Okay, so we've got into the last stage of the 5 stages of service learning, which is demonstration. So demonstration is when students share their service learning process with an audience. This has a dual purpose. It helps students reflect on their journey, and it's also a way to advocate for the VWO causes. So one way students demonstrate their learning is through leading workshops for one another. At the start of the year, all students from grade 9 to 11 sign up to hear from the student leaders of local services about the VWOs they partner with and the issues they address. The purpose of these panels is to help students make informed decisions about which services to sign up for. They also facilitate group discussions and around questions like, to what extent do youth have a responsibility to support the elderly? Another kind of demonstration is portfolios, in which students keep an ongoing record of the VWO partnership. In the portfolio, they demonstrate the use of some of the tools, like the SWOT Analysis or Miso, and record their reflections. Other students visit portfolios to gain a better understanding of what the service group does and whether it is the right fit for them. VWOs are also given access to the portfolios and can comment and give feedback on the content. In addition to portfolios, groups are encouraged to write stories, shoot videos, record podcasts about their experiences for publications like the UWC SEA Perspectives. These publications celebrate the partnership and simultaneously draw attention to the issues VWOs address. We hope this attention then leads to our wider community actively seeking out opportunities to volunteer or make in-kind or financial contributions to the work that they do. Over to you, Nisha, for a bit of partner training.
So for many of our partners, the service learning process was a new approach to working with students. For this process to be successful, we needed to be transparent about the level of engagement that is required from our service partners. And this is not a common practice for most local schools, as they tend to follow a very different model in approaching to working with VWOs. To support our students' learning journey, we lead workshops for our partners on the 5 stages to discuss how they can add value to our students' service learning program. This transparency helps VWOs to reevaluate their capacity to engage with our students. In this time, some VWOs will then realize that they do not have the time or the manpower to work collaboratively with us. As much as we want to continue building this relationship, it's also very important to respect the decisions of this organization and what their priorities are. So it is okay to move away from a partnership. On the other hand, this gave chance for most of our partners to involve students in the work that they do and to leave a lasting impression. They could see how their contribution could help guide our students to become independent change makers. Sorry, it's lagging. When your partnership is collaborative and transparent, The beneficiaries and organization will value our students' interaction. On this slide, Amelia from Down Syndrome Association was appreciative of our continuous collaboration and how our students adopted when facing challenges and considered all the feedback and suggestions when they were from her team. The next slide is from Lucas, Anglican Care Center, Hougang. He shared that our program had an enriching experience for their support staff and members, and they're looking forward to a fruitful partnership in years to come. So reciprocity is very important in a partnership. To me, I've always viewed it like a batik painting, like the one from the late Sasaki Syed. This modern painting, longevity, Akoi, explores the modern and traditional techniques. It explores the cultural values and the Singapore way of life. Batik means creating dots to tell a story. Like this batik painting, we would like to share our resources and learn from our VWOs. We'd like to create a collaborative, reciprocal relationship, one that values Singapore culture and values while we learn and share our tools. Like the dots in this painting, we want to continue share our combined story together with the rest of our school and our wider community.
Thanks for that beautiful sort of connection to batik there, Nisha. I've loved, when you first introduced that to me, it sums it up so well. So on to our sort of last engagement for today, unless you choose to talk to us later on. So thinking about the tools we use today, we would like you to do a SWOT analysis of our program as presented to you. You can type any or all sections of the SWOT into the chat. So on the left-hand side there, you see all the different tools that we've introduced to you. And then the SWOT again is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you could type in a SWOT for us, that would be really helpful. Thank you. We'll give you 5 minutes to do that now. Thanks.
Hi. My apologies. Can I double check that what is that we need to do. So let's say we pick one of these, any of Miso, Iceberg, and then we what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats for one of these?
It's more a sort of reflection on what we presented today. So
okay.
Yeah, so on us, it's our way of, I guess, gathering sort of feedback on which of these tools do you think were strengths or that were useful to you. You know, were there some weaknesses sort of in the delivery?
Okay.
Opportunities that, you know, other things you would have liked to have seen in this presentation. And
thank you.
And yeah, there could have been a threat as well that we're not aware of. So
good.
Yeah, be honest. We're really open to constructive feedback. It's what hopefully we've sort of got that message across today, that actually it's through constructive feedback that we can grow and improve the program, and that's how our program works, and that's how we work as a school. So
thank you.
No worries.
Thank you. This is also a good opportunity for you to share any tools that we may have missed that you feel that has built your own program, you know, and in terms of reciprocity. So this is a good chance for us to learn from you too. So please do share if you have any.
Thank you.
So a key strength I see is the high level of service partner engagement. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Compass graphic, yeah. Big fan of Compass Education and the work that they do around systems thinking. If you get an opportunity to do their level 1 or level 2 courses, I'd highly recommend them. Yeah, I think that focus on language that Frankie, you've identified there, that with, right? Doing things with organizations and not for them, I think is an important point. And I definitely agree, yes, that some of these tools fit better with certain types of service. And yeah, you've always got to take into consideration the context that you're working in and what the best tools for that context are.
Well, thank you for that feedback. I do think that involving other schools in the school presentation will be helpful. We could be more collaborative in the future. So thank you for sharing that with us.
And Alice, of course, you were a key contributor to all of this. Yeah, having been a staff member here, we've learned a lot from the work that Dover does. It's definitely informed our program as well.
Oh, thank you. Do you have any questions for us? Please feel free to ask us any questions.
I think that's okay. So we've got our 5 minutes are up for this task. We've got one last bit to sort of share with you, and then there will be a networking session after this, directly after this, where we can have a more informal chat. I think it was Alice. Yeah, you mentioned, maybe we could talk more about impact measurement and how you're doing that or how others are doing that, and sort of keep that conversation going. So just finally, the last thing we'd like to share is, if you've enjoyed our presentation and want to learn more, please visit the East Service and Sustainable Development virtual booth, where you can also find a link to the UWC SEA Stories podcast series. In fact, I think they might put that into... Lucy's already put that into the chat. This podcast series features students, teachers, and service partner perspectives from across both campuses. So you get to hear Frankie Meehan, who's also on this chat today, in action. And if you wish to continue this discussion, please join us in the networking room right after this. Over to you, Lucy. Thank you.
Oh, and
Thank you. Go on.
I was going to say that Frankie put a note in. Yes, please check both East and Dover virtual booths as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Look, thank you so much, Rick and Nisha, for such an incredible presentation. I really enjoyed learning all about the ladder and how we're sort of hoping to get to rung number 8 there. And then obviously the Iceberg model, and hearing from Reza and her case study was really inspirational, and obviously learning about Miso, the 4 kinds of action, and then going through the whole SWOT analysis, and how you have pivoted in the pandemic to take a lot of those activities and those partner engagement activities into a virtual realm. So thank you so much for sharing. And as you've just mentioned, please do check out the virtual booths for both East and Dover. There are many other virtual booths that you can explore. If you would like to join Rick and Nisha after this session, they'll be available for some virtual networking for about half an hour. So you can just scroll to the bottom of your, in your app there, you'll see, scroll to the bottom of the session and you will see a link to join the virtual networking room. So please head on over there. Otherwise, you can obviously contact us through the app with any additional questions, and we can follow up for you. There are lots of sessions still this afternoon to go. So there's, I think, education in the climate and outdoor education is starting at 2:45. And then, of course, this afternoon, we have another keynote session. We've got UWC Chair Musimbi Kanyoro. We've got UWC SEA Chair Madden Menon and College President Karma Elliott, all coming together for a discussion at 4:45 on the role of UWC in building a more peaceful and sustainable future. So if you can make any of those sessions this afternoon, please do so. Have a look at the app and the agenda. It's a wonderful program continuing on until tomorrow afternoon. And we are very, very grateful to have you here. If you happen to be on Dover campus, there will be networking in person all day at the Heritage Cafe. Thank you again for taking the time to join us. It's been wonderful to have you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.